Don't you fucking dare ask the West for help. Every fucking Ukrainian has that. Don't you dare.
Well, hello, all viewers on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and other social media platforms. My name is Peter John Bosse, a Dutch investigative journalist and filmmaker, awarded for my work exposing fraud and corruption worldwide. Tonight, we're discussing a very important and controversial topic, the activists of Ben Dusing and his organization World Aid Runners in Kherson in the Ukraine. For months, I have been investigating Ben Dusing, a disbarred lawyer who lost his license after multiple allegations of domestic violence, including serious threats against his ex-wife. Dusing presents himself as a humanitarian, raising substantial funds from American donors under the guise of providing aid to Kherson. But after extensive research and speaking with several former volunteers, it's clear that there is a very different reality behind the scenes. Tonight, I'm joined by two guests who have directly knowledge of Dusing activities. Lionel from South Africa, an independent researcher who has been closely monitoring Dusing's operations. Lionel, personally, he knew Dusing not very long, but it's clear to me, and you will hear him later with his opinion. Ian, a former volunteer who worked alongside Dusing in Kherson and has been firsthand what really happened with the donated funds and aid supplies. Before I bring him in, let's now emphasize that this is not just one person. This is about a pattern of financial mismanagement and potential explorations of donor funds, while the people of Kherson, including vulnerable children and families, are still suffering. Lionel, welcome here. You have been in the field and have seen what's happening firsthand. Can you please tell us more about your experiences with Dusing and what you uncovered about him, the funds and aid were handled?
Hi. So yes, I've been working in Kherson for many years, since 2014, in fact, when the war actually started. I was doing other volunteer and rescue work of wild animals. After the war started and Kherson was liberated, I was able to get back into Kherson. I lived there. I know Kherson very well. I lived there before the war from 2015 through until 2 weeks before the war broke out. I actually flew out of Ukraine with a couple of lions that I'd rescued. That's why I wasn't there when the war actually started. After that city was liberated, I started entering the city again, taking in aid, helping people, a majority animals more than people, because that's what my organization does. And I happen to have aid in the form of 51 pre-packed emergency food parcels containing sugar and tinned meats and pastas and rices and vegetables and things like that. And I took them to World Aid Runners. Ben wasn't there that day. I handed them over to Christina. It was 51 boxes. I remembered it distinctly because the aid organization that gave it to me said it was 50 boxes. Anyway, so we handed over the 51 and they said, don't worry, we will give all the credit where the credit is due, because it was promised to the organization that gave it to me to bring in. They didn't have vehicles and they were too afraid to come into Kherson, and they knew that I was doing daily deliveries there. So that was my first introduction to World Aid Runners. I then took them on 2 other occasions, first aid kits, some clothing, water purification tablets and filters for military personnel who are working across the Dnieper River that needed to have drinkable water because there was none. And also I was told, don't worry, we'll give you credit for this and that. And it never happened. And it turned out, I found out a little while later, that Dusing had been claiming that he had bought this aid and that it was from his funds, and he was the one that supplied it without giving us any credit. And that's when I decided, now we start checking everything. And we did. He can't supply any invoices for anything that he claims he has bought. We have asked him on many occasions, just show us a receipt and all this goes away. I mean, if you've bought something, I don't know if we're allowed to use bad language here because I'm really good at that. But he is such a media, all he wants to do is be in front of the camera and show people what he's done. Now, if Ben Dusing had gone out and bought anything, he most certainly would film that. He's filmed everything else that he's done, except any purchases, which really doesn't make sense. And he refuses and has said that he does not need to keep receipts, as these receipts will all be shown through the bank accounts. And I just thought it was a bit strange. Why not show them? Then it just carried on getting worse and worse. His propaganda for the Russians, really. The things that he says about Ukraine.
For a goddamn fucking F-16 until you get off your big fat ass out of fucking Lviv, out of fucking Odessa, and saddle up and help your goddamn people. And if you want to out yourself as being the biggest, like if you want to distinguish yourself as being a human being that doesn't know shit about the war, who sat out the war and let your own people die for you, I mean, being the worst time, then talk about what language you speak. That's for people that, you know, far away from the war that don't know jack shit about war.
About Kherson, how many drone attacks there are, incoming artillery, how many people die every day. None of that is true. I'm linked to the city administration. I'm part of their Telegram channels, and I get updated information about exactly what is happening in Kherson. And his numbers are wrong. 15 to 20 people are not dying every day. In the month of April, there were only 17, I say only, I should not say only, but there were 17 recorded deaths in Kherson and Kherson Oblast and 37 injuries. Ben Dusing says there are between 15 and 20 deaths a day. He says there are 350 to 500 incoming artillery rounds every day. That is not the case. If that was the case for the last 2.5 years, Kherson would be a pile of rubble. And it's just got worse and worse and more lives and more lives. And that's basically it. And we kept on looking into things, and more people have come forward to say things that Dusing has done. I mean, this is all hearsay, but when you question him about anything, he blocks you. You become the bad guy. And it's all just simple questions. Even Ian has asked simple questions via emails. Just provide some information and all this goes away, and he won't do it.
Yeah. So, by the way, I'm happy that Ian is a little bit back. If with your permission, we can continue more about the facts. Ian, what is your personal experience with Ben Dusing?
So I came across Ben organically on TikTok Live, and anything that is to do with Ukraine instantly piques my interest because of previous experience on TikTok Live with different humanitarian aid organizations and individuals. And this was no exception. It piqued my interest. And I saw that he had a free store at the front, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I commented, something along the lines of, cool idea, I have a couple of questions for you. And I remember lingering for a little while and then scrolling on. And in the back of my head, I was thinking of questions such as, how much does it cost per month? How many people do you have going there a month? What's your biggest issue? And one of the biggest things was, do you give back to the local community in terms of, do you buy fruit and veggies from the babashkas and derushkas on the market? Do you have a kitchen that you can make food and have like a soup kitchen? So I had all these different ideas that I didn't think he would have implemented, or different ideas that he might be able to use. And then joining his live a couple of times, I started to see things that didn't make sense to me. For example, one of the things were the pallets of 25 and a half pallets full of stuff that he said, it's useless, we can't do it. I'm like, okay, well, what are they? I tried to ask more questions, and he just talked about himself. What are they on the pallets? Why can't you get rid of them? Blah, blah, blah. That was the first thing that stuck out to me as being incorrect. And then I looked on his videos and saw some comments, and maybe some from Lionel, about, scam. And as soon as I see that, I think, yeah, that person has a reason to say that. Why? I'm going to investigate. So I did a little digging on the website, and I saw that there was some information missing. I did a bit of history check on the charity, and I realized that they hadn't filed their annual accounts from, it's been active since 23. So they should have filed in September 24. And all I did was email him and say, hello, mate. Well, first off, anonymously, this must be stressed. I did it anonymously, which is my right, asking for information. And then I followed up an email about a week later, and he said, I don't talk to people who are anonymous. You must identify yourself. And then from that point, I knew he was either going to be difficult and give me the information, he's just being secretive, or he's being deceitful. And the email response I got led me to believe the latter, where he's being very deceitful. And he responded with a law email saying, you are involved with other people. We have lawyers in America, threats left, right, and center, but still didn't give me the documents that I wanted, and that I'm entitled to. Anybody is. Now, the website was born out of the fact that I saw comments that were disconcerting to me. I had an experience, very short experience, of him threatening me with legal action for asking for such documents. And I realized that there is a bigger picture here. There are more people in play in this game. And I know from previous experience with another charity that the more information that is out there, the harder it is to collate everything, to get a better picture, the more likely they are to run away with the money. I know someone from England, from Scotland actually, who ran away with £80,000. Not a thing on him, because there was no evidence, no paper trail for it. So the website is a place for people to see the facts very clearly. I've tried to remain as unbiased and neutral as I can. It states clearly that anyone in the world is allowed to ask a charity for this tax document. Anyone is allowed to do it anonymously. They cannot ask you to do this, that, the other. So it started off with a simple tax document that he didn't respond to, and that snowballed into threatening dissent and criticism of a charity. It's gone now to defamation and libel on John Henson's case. But my interaction with him was organic and well-intended at first, and it progressed through Dusing's actions. It progressed into what it is now, where more and more people are coming out of the woodwork, and the website, it speaks for itself. It is fully explaining and detailing Dusing's actions and why they are bad, in a nutshell, really.
Okay. Yeah, but maybe you or maybe Lionel can comment on one thing I saw on his live. He is claiming that he is the only foreigner organization for humanitarian help there. He is even cursing on the International Red Cross, who is in Kherson. I sent him an email Unfortunately, they didn't come back to me, but I hope they will comment on that. Of course, it's a big organizations, and we can see, but what and you two can answer me. How many organizations for humanitarian help are there at present in Kherson?
Okay, Ian, I'll take this one and you can add in if you've got more to add. The number I'm not going to be able to give to you exactly, but Red Cross is in and out. They don't have an office that they stay at for security reasons, and I understand that. I've on multiple occasions seen their trucks going in and out, and not a little van. I'm talking about big 10, 20-ton Pantechnicon trucks taking aid in and out. Ben Dusing was actually doing a live about 10 days ago, and he always said, I'm the only foreigner here, I'm the only one this, and he was actually standing in front of the Central Market doing a live, which is illegal and dangerous. And the World Central Kitchen van drove by, and he made a mistake, and he actually said, oh, the World Central Kitchen, and he realized, oops, he cocked up because he's supposed to be the only guy there. The World Central Kitchen is there. Red Cross is there. I saw UNICEF vehicles today. What they're doing there, I don't know. The UN is in and out there all the time. There are multiple other, there's a Norwegian crowd. I don't know exactly what their name is. They're in and out there all the time. All of them are doing different things. The Norwegians are doing the mine clearing, and the others taking in aid. But you're also forgetting, we're talking about internationals now, you're forgetting about all the small local Ukrainian organizations that are in there, that have been there through the occupation, have been helping people and evacuating people and hiding them away and making sure that they're being fed. There was an English teacher that stayed there through the occupation. He literally lived in his basement, and the locals were keeping him alive and keeping him away from the Russians. So Ben Dusing, it's a complete lie. There are many organizations that are in and out there all the time. Because they don't choose to sleep there does not mean that they're not there. I don't sleep there, but I'm in there 5 days a week. Does that make me not there?
Estimated, Ian or Lionel, how much, because I hear stories directly, I took some affidavits from people who gave me the tip and who were leading me towards you, Lionel. That's how I found it. By the way, if you want to see his TikTok account, just go to Warriors, spelled with double R, Warriors, on TikTok. Every day Lionel is doing some kind of an update, and you will even see one of my videos where I started to investigate Ben Dusing. I hear to complete what I wanted to say is I heard from former volunteers that they had to pay their own airfare, mostly from the US. They flew over, and they had to pay a quite large amount of $5,000. He was acting quite nice at the start, but as soon as they crossed the border, he was already, very aggressive verbally, very aggressive. And during all these weeks, he became more and more aggressive, with certain ladies, starting to be really upset, and they have left. And they were, forwarding me to you, Lionel, to do more investigations. I saw, for example, that he is banned 3 years to be a lawyer because he has misused certain privileges, and he was very aggressive towards his ex-wife. Ian, do you have any idea how many sponsors and how much money this could be? Because, if this is a scam, well, this is a master plan to buy. That's my words. That's my thinking enough to get a nice palace, to buy a lot of properties, and to be a rich man.
Yeah. So from what I've seen, and I'm taking comments from John Henson with a pinch of salt. He has, I mean, Ben himself said he's the main investor. That's a key word because you cannot invest in a charity. Investing means that you're going to get money back. Now, John has said Dusing has invested over 100,000. John said he's paid equal shares, so he's matched donations, and he's saying it's a lot of money. So theoretically, there is a lot of money going through the charity. The investing is what gets my interest because he claims to have invested $100,000. I can't see for the life of me $100,000 worth of investment in her son. Okay, there's a difference in investing in her son and investing in the charities to get a return. I can't see where that money's gone. And even from the horse's mouth, Dusing has said, I've not spent a penny. Now, if you couple the fact of Dusing saying he's an investor and John Henson is a co-investor, there are two people with...
Stopped. Recording in progress.
There are two people who've had a history of good careers. They've got a bit of money. Are they using the tax-exempt status to embezzle their own money and then to have it tax-free at the end of it? This is what is leading my thought process. I doubt that they make a lot of money through TikTok. They could well use the evidence of TikTok coupled with other things to then go to other people and say, look, this is what we're doing. Give us some money. I believe that there is a lot of money going through, and I don't think any of it is going to be seen by the right people. My experience leads me to believe that they're using it from their language and from what they're saying about it. They're using it as a tax haven for themselves. And maybe Ben is trying to claw back some respect from losing his lawyer license. Who knows? But my evidence leads me to conclude that they're using it as a tax, what would you say, offshoot, or trying to avoid paying tax. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I have one question. What are the chances that he has to legally becomes transparent and shows those invoices he's speaking about, but he never showed?
There's no legal need or right for him. Well, there's no law that he must produce receipts every day. It does help with transparency. And moving forward in humanitarian aid, you would use a system of smart contracts that's fully transparent, decentralized. He doesn't have to show receipts. It would help for public transparency. It is in the interest of the charity for him to do so. Because he's got so much criticism now, it would be in the best interest of the charity to produce those receipts. He does need to show them, sort of, when he does his annual filings. So, this year in September, he'll file for last year. And that's when it will be resolved to us that, okay, he's had X amount come in and X amount go out. But he hasn't produced his previous filings. That's against the law. For transparency, he should produce receipts like other charities do. But there's nothing to make him do that. Now, I'm hoping with any future investigations that go on with services, they will see through his facade of pretense, and they'll get to the bottom of it no matter what. They're a government agency; they should get to the bottom of it very quickly. But from all of the evidence that I've been given and everything that Dusing has said and done to me, leads me to believe there are no receipts. He doesn't spend anything on aid, is what I've been told. So, yeah, there's nothing I don't think there is anything for him to show in the first place.
Okay.
If there were, he would to try and alleviate some of this dissent.
We see as well that he hates a lot. He is very rude in his words, and he attacks the Ukrainian people. What is your thought about that, Lionel?
I'm the wrong person to ask, because the way that he speaks to and he treats people is disgusting. Someone needs to stand up to him. He's a bully. And the people that he speaks bad to and says bad things about or treats badly are people that really can't, who are too scared to stand up against him. If you listen to my TikTok videos, I sound like a hypocrite now because I say some really bad stuff. But I'm having a go at him because I'm not scared of him. And I wish we could have a face-to-face confrontation and get it out in the open. But he would never take me on. And that's possibly why I do it as well, as a frustration, as I get really angry. But he does. He will have a go at anybody that disagrees with him. He won't have a go at anyone who's bigger than him or tougher than him. He will never, ever do that. He'll get other people to fight his battles, which is happening right now. One of them fighting his battles is John Henson, and his other one is his moderator, Susie Q. And they just keep on protecting him all the time. Yesterday, he was in Lviv, and he wanted to ask people why they weren't on the front line fighting. Who is he to even ask those questions when you arrive there dressed up in tactical gear, pretending you the savior of the universe? But when anyone wears anything remotely military that is not a soldier down in the south in Kherson, he attacks them. But he won't attack them face to face. It'll always be via someone else and via social media. So it's absolutely disgusting the way. But even this is now worn off onto Christina. Christina did a Facebook post, if you guys want to go and have a look at it, last night, where she attacked the people of Lviv, sorry. And one woman came back and she automatically assumed by the woman's name that she was a foreigner, and it wasn't. It was a Ukrainian woman that actually fights in the army, and she's from Lviv. And Christina and Ben were running the residents of Lviv down, saying, you live a high life and you overcharge us and we this and we that. And the woman said, have you been to the Field of Mars, the biggest cemetery in Ukraine, where they're burying up to 10 soldiers from Lviv every week? And Christina just kept on going at that. But if I can just change something and go back to what Ian said earlier on about the money and what they're doing with it. And John Henson messaged something like, with Ian, you take everything with a pinch of salt. But Dusing is in Ukraine with no income. He's with Christina, who is less than half of his age, which it's normal in Ukraine. It's just one of those things. He desperately wants to be here because he can't earn money at home. And John Henson on TikTok the other day and in a private message to me said, we are buying up land in Ukraine.
Wow.
And with the likes of BlackRock, who is that security company, and it's all done via corrupt means. So I don't know if he said that just to get a rise out of me because it didn't really matter to me, but he still said, it might even be your house that I've bought. And that makes me think, and I'm not being a conspiracy theorist here, is that what the connection is to Christina, so that Ben can possibly get married there and then they're buying land? And that's where this money will go. Because I do believe that when this war is over, Ukraine is going to be the place to be in the world. I see a big future here.
Working on the post-edit of a Zoom meeting, I hosted about so-called humanitarian organization on World Aid Runners, and the main man behind it, Ben Dusing. Just moments ago, I received a phone call. Christina, Ben's girlfriend, was denied boarding a flight to the United States from Frankfurt, Germany. Of course, you'll now see a crying Christina on your screen. while in the background plays Santana's version of Black Magic Woman, originally by Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. And again, just like always, Ben Dusing blames someone else. This time, he is talking about a random person, 21 persons in single chat. Ben, this is not about your so-called Yemen mistake where a journalist was invited by accident. The real issue is how you speak. Your cursing, your shouting, your constant attacks on the people of Ukraine, as if they're just laying on beaches and throwing parties during wartime. Let me remind you, over 90% of the Ukrainians have lost a family member in this war. You have no right to insult them or mock their sufferings. Now, about Christina being blocked from entering the US. I don't know the exact reasons, but it's not about your usual husband and wife excuses. I believe US authorities have seen enough red flags. Why? Because you and Christina are using donor money without showing a single invoice for food, medicines, or materials. Not one document, Ben. And yet, we have proof that the aid you hand out in Kherson comes from other humanitarian organizations who gave it for free. That, Ben Dusing, is the truth. You even attacked the International Red Cross, an organization I support deeply. In fact, I once wrote a song for them just before the war in former Yugoslavia.
Organization which always understands the Red Cross is always there with the helping hand. The world can be one. It's a home for us to live. And now it's time for us to give.
For that, I was honored as a Goodwill ambassador. So, Ben, let's make this simple. You've kicked down others who truly save lives. You claim only World Aid Runners operates in Kherson, but we know that is a lie. It's time to stop. Come clean. Speak to your partners in crime. John, Susie, Christina, and more, and most of all, your own soul. Because now the truth is catching up. The IRS, the FBI, the BBB, and more are investigating under IRS code 6104, and with mounting evidence from multiple sources, your scam is no longer hidden.
Hello, everybody in World Aid Runners Nation. I wanted to ask for your help. We're in the Frankfurt airport, and U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents approached Christina and asked her some questions and revoked her visa to the United States based on, it appears, people reporting that we are in fact husband and wife, that she lied to the consulate. She has a B1, B2 visa, a B1, B2 visa, which is a business visa. As all of you know, first of all, we're not husband and wife. Secondly, we are very close, as anyone would be, working in a war zone together, informing the relationship that we have. But most importantly,
Ben, this isn't just about a failed charity. This is about justice.